Long before the name America appeared on any map, this vast land was home to millions of people, nations who had lived for thousands of years among forests, rivers, and endless plains, from the Cherokee and Apache to the Iroquois, Cheyenne, and dozens of others. They were the original guardians of a land that would one day reshape the world. But as the 16th century approached, Europe was restless. Empires competed for power, and every nation sought new territories to claim. And so, carried by the winds of ambition, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English ships crossed the Atlantic, reaching the mysterious shores that would later be known as North America. Their arrival changed everything. They brought guns, diseases, culture, and relentless ambition. Native peoples encountered illnesses they had never faced before, plagues that wiped out entire generations and shattered the balance of power forever. During this turbulent era, the first European settlements took shape: Jamestown, Boston, and New Amsterdam. Small, fragile towns that no one imagined would one day mark the beginning of a global superpower. As time passed, the waves of European migration grew stronger. People came for different reasons, some for land and wealth, others seeking religious freedom, and many simply hoping to rebuild their lives. Yet despite their differences, a new identity began to form, an identity not quite European and nothing like the native peoples, a new identity that would one day be called American. By the early 18th century, 13 British colonies lined the eastern coast. They were growing rapidly, yet still lived under the crown of Britain, and when England imposed heavier taxes, a fire ignited in the hearts of the colonists. A question began to echo in the streets: why should we pay taxes when we have no representation in the government? That simple question sparked one of the greatest revolutions in human history. Protests intensified, tea was dumped into the harbor at Boston, conflicts escalated, and in 1775 the crack of musket, fire in Lexington and Concord, signaled the beginning of a war that would change an entire continent. In the midst of the chaos, remarkable figures rose: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, leaders who declared that this land was no longer a colony. On July 4, 1776, they signed a document that shook the world: the Declaration of Independence. It proclaimed a bold idea: all men are created equal. Words that would inspire nations for centuries to come, even though reaching that ideal would prove to be a long and painful journey. The War of Independence lasted 8 hard years. Ordinary settlers, farmers, merchants, and volunteers fought with simple weapons, but with an unbreakable will. And at last, Britain accepted defeat and a new nation was born, the United States of America. But the story of America had only just begun. A constitution was written, a president elected, and vast waves of immigrants poured in from Germany, Ireland, Italy, France, and all corners of the world, each carrying dreams of freedom, of land, of wealth, or simply a better life. America pushed westward. Plains, mountains, and new coastlines were claimed one by one. But this expansion came at a terrible cost. Native lands were seized, and nations who had lived here for millennia were forced to retreat. It remains the darkest chapter of America's history, a wound still remembered and still debated today. Then in the mid-19th century, the nation erupted again, this time from within. Slavery, deep economic divides, and cultural tension ignited a fire that became the Civil War of 1861, a brutal conflict that claimed more than 600,000 lives. Yet in the end, slavery was abolished, the nation reunified, and America stepped onto the path that would transform it into a rising world power. From that moment on, innovation, industry, immigration, and economic expansion pushed this young nation forward at astonishing speed. 2 world wars, the Industrial Revolution, the rise of global corporations, the journey to the moon, all of it occurred in less than 2 centuries. A short span of time for a country that once consisted of just 13 small colonies. This is the story of America's birth. A land built on hope and violence, freedom and contradiction, dreams and harsh realities. A land many still call the land of opportunity, and others see as a nation filled with paradoxes. But one truth remains undeniable: the United States of America, whether we admire it or criticize it, stands as one of the most influential human experiments in political and social history, a nation born from migration, conflict, idealism, and countless mistakes, and its story is still being written.